No.
I could be too.
All right, I do have 10 o'clock. We will call the meeting to order and we'll rise for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well, thanks everybody for showing up today. We'll start the meeting with public forum. I don't see a lot of new faces for public forum today, but I will run over it real quick. After being recognized by the chair, speakers should approach the podium and speak into the microphone. Speakers should state their name and limit comments to 3 minutes. Speakers may not share minutes with other speakers. So we can start that. Whoever wants to go first. Yep, come on up, Denise.
Denise Weiss, Royalton Township. You guys made some nice revisions on March 18th, 2025 to the planning and zoning, or to the zoning of Pine County. And there's some things that I wanted to point out. Solid waste disposal sites, and this was signed between Dave Minke and Josh in March. You guys are requiring 100 feet to the property line or 1,000 feet between any residential dwelling located or adjacent to the parcel. Now, these are under the setbacks, and this is, you guys are saying activities as land disposal facilities, solid waste processing facilities, waste tire facilities. But the big one here that would probably apply for cannabis is composting facilities. Okay, composting, it may smell as plants deteriorate. There's no lights. But obviously odor's an issue because you're requiring it to be 1,000 feet from somebody else's location. When it looks at feedlots, you are saying very specifically 500 feet. For every one cannabis plant equals one chicken. So we're looking at thousands depending on the type of operation that's going in. Commercial solar energy, you want a minimum of 275 feet between things. If you're doing manufacturing, if you're under 20,000 square feet, you guys have 0 rules for parcels. 0. If you're doing windmills, you guys have 750 feet for a windmill. Windmills, they ain't making a lot of noise. They don't have glowing lights, but you want 750 feet to a neighboring residence. Cannabis, you can have a large area. It can be rank and smelling. And you know what? 0. You say in here on page 13, adequate measures have been or will be taken to prevent control of offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, vibrations, so that none of these will constitute a nuisance, to control lighting in such a manner that no disturbance to neighboring properties will result. This is on your page 13. This will also be a proposal that will cause no harm to the environment or to the neighborhood, taking into consideration the probable hours of operation, the activities to be conducted, the number of people to be assembled or use the premises at any one time. This is what you guys just signed in March. It all applies except for cannabis. Why? Nowhere in here does it state for a lot of these other things. You guys don't even follow a consistent pattern to protect homeowners, to protect residents, to protect property values. If you are growing this stuff and you're running a business, sorry, my husband goes to work every day. He comes home, he has very smelly boots. But you know what? That man's earning money. I'm not going to complain about those boots because I get to use that money. You will live with a lot of stink, but if I brought those smelly boots into you guys and said, hey, let's have them under your table, you'd be like, I don't need this. I don't want this by me. Why would anybody else have to have that? It's self-serving on this type of thing. And there should be minimums to protect residents. Have a good 4th.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Denise.
Thank you.
One quick thing before we move on, I forgot we do have another public hearing. So when we get to the tax forfeited land sale process and continuation of the local option sales tax transportation enacted under resolution. That other one, there'll be a separate public hearing for that. So if you want to talk on them, this is just for anything else. So I just want to make sure someone don't think they missed anything, so. If anybody else wants to talk on their public forum? Anyone else? Come on up.
Morning, everyone. Chair, Board, Trent Ganenberg, resident of Brook Park Township, 4323 State Highway 23, Brook Park, Minnesota, 55007. Just starting things off, happy Taco Tuesday, everyone. It's a beautiful day and I look forward to having some tacos. Hope you guys do too. We should all be celebrating here. Based on the last time I was here to speak with you all, OCM actually issued the first cannabis license. And congratulations to everyone up here. It was a Pine County resident. I think that is demonstrable of the fact of your guys' great leadership and stewardship through this process. Obviously, this process has not been an easy process. There is some opposition. There will always be some opposition. There's always two sides to the coin. But I wanted to say thank you to you guys once again. In addition, all the retail permits for Pine County have been filled. Another example of your guys is leading in the state. So congratulations to everyone here. Regarding interpretations of conflicting laws or interpretations of the laws themselves, I think those conversations are probably best intended for judges and not necessarily county boards. I do appreciate the opposition and the concerns. However, if we're getting into the specifics of smell versus this versus the other, it really feels like not a great use of time. And I will continue to pray for peace and understanding for those who are in opposition to the laws that you guys have put forth. Regarding the smells, there's nothing present out there right now. So these are all fears based off of ignorance, candidly. And I look forward to those fears being put to rest once Joe gets up in business and actually is a successful business within Pine County. So with that, I'm not going to waste anyone's time any further. I appreciate everyone's time. And again, congratulations to everyone. And yeah, have a great 4th. Thanks all.
Thanks. Anybody else in public forum? All right, hearing none. We'll look at the agenda. Looks like we have some additions.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, we got on the consent agenda, item 1B. There's a donation to Pine County Northern Lights Lions. It should be $250 rather than $225. And we have an addition to the regular agenda, item 5.1, we'll call it. Letter of support for Foley to I-35 feasibility study. Consider a letter of support to MnDOT to do the feasibility study of Trunk Highway 23 from Foley to I-35. For your consideration on that.
I will move as amended.
I'll second.
All right, we got a motion by Ludwig, second by Holland. Is there any discussion? Additions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Approve the minutes of the June 17, 2025 regular board meeting and summary for publication, and the minutes of the June 24th, 2025 special meeting, economic development.
I'll move them.
Okay, motion by Holland,
Second.
second by Nelson. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. All right, acknowledge the minutes of boards, committees, and correspondence. Minutes of the Pine County Board of Commissioners Board of Appeal and Equalization meeting June 16, 2025, and unapproved minutes of the Pine County Housing and Redevelopment Economic Development Authority meeting June 25th, 2025.
I'll move that. I'll second.
Okay, motion by Holland, second by Ludwig. Any discussion on them? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. All right, on the consent agenda with the correction.
I'll move consent.
Okay, Ludwig moved the consent agenda. You got a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Nelson. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. All right, regular agenda, public hearing, tax forfeited land sale process. Looks like Kelly's taking it. I'm not gonna go on and start talking about all that.
Great, sounds good. So Kelly Schroeder, County Auditor Treasurer. And you should have a copy of this in your packet, as well to follow along with. Okay. There we go, okay. Oh, now I went too far because I was impatient. It'll slow me down. All right. So today we are here for a public hearing for some tax forfeit lands that the county was intending to reclassify as non-conservation and sell. I wanted to give just a brief overview of this process and our management of tax forfeit lands. I want to preface this with, I am only talking about the pre-June 2016 sales or properties. After June 23rd, 2016, those properties are subject to the state settlement, subject to all the new statutes. This is only focusing on those pre-2016 forfeited lands. So I want you to keep that in mind, that this is before any of the Supreme Court case and things, because those lands we still manage under the old statutes, the old way.
Mr. Chair, is this property a pre-16 that we're working?
Correct.
Just to be clear.
Yep. So when properties forfeit for non-payment of property taxes, the title reverts to the state of Minnesota and are managed by the county. Currently, there's approximately 39,354 acres. No property taxes are levied while it's in forfeiture status. However, we do receive a PILT, a payment in lieu of taxes on those dollars. And it's $2 per acre. 10% of that is transferred to the city or township that it's in. So that equals 20 cents per acre goes to the city or township, and $1.80 stays with the county per acre of those tax forfeit lands. We're gonna go. All right. So the county manages these lands, that while the title is vested with the state of Minnesota, the county manages these lands. And we manage them for sustainable forestry practices, for timber production, and sales, recreational use, and then we also do manage them for land sales and exchanges. And so it's a multifaceted approach to working with these lands that the statute requires of us and that we do. As part of the tax forfeiture program, we have to classify lands, conservation or non-conservation. And that classification happens based on this list of criteria that's in statute. I likely don't need to read them all, but it's looking really at the type of land that it is and where is the benefit for the public with that land. Is it conservation for long-term holdings, or is it non-conservation for short-term holdings and then potential sale? So the conservation classification, it's held for long-term classification. Pine County has taken that a step further and dedicated 36,238 acres to memorial forests, which is dedicated to the military veterans. Those memorial forests were established and planned based on those parcels that were large acreage, had timber resource potential, had management access, so we could actually work with the properties, potential environmental uniqueness, and then public recreation value. And so that process began back in 2010, and we have, the land committee and the board has reviewed that from time to time and added properties as seen fit. We've done some exchanges, those types of things. The non-conservation classification, which my slide will catch up, is more for short-term holdings. When we are going to classify something non-conservation, the process that's required by statute is that we notify the city or town that the property is in, that we intend to classify it as non-conservation and then likely sell it. When that happens, if a township or city disapproves, then we go through this process, which includes a public hearing, where you must allow people to submit comments and recommendations regarding that classification change. And when you're deciding whether that classification change makes sense, you are to consider the comprehensive plan and then, all of the comments that are gathered regarding if that is the best course of action.
Mr. Chair.
Mhm.
Does the state have to approve the sale also on these?
No, so there's only very specific properties that do have to go through the DNR for approval for sale.
Okay. Thank you.
So when we do sell those properties, typically we sell them at public auction. And we do that once the repurchase time has expired. So in statute, once a property forfeits, people have a certain amount of time to repurchase them. So obviously we can't sell them at public auction until that repurchase period is up. We sell them when there's minimal resource value. A lot of the properties that we're now selling that are older forfeitures, we kept them until we could harvest the timber before selling them, rather than selling them with that resource on them. Or we kept them while we used the gravel off the property and then we will be selling them. A lot of that public auction is larger acreage, where on the flip side, we do have that sealed bid adjoining landowner auction as well that we do. And last year, actually, this board adopted a policy regarding how those properties are determined, which goes on that. Those are typically the small acreage, non-conforming lots that are unbuildable. So it doesn't make sense for a random person to own it because they can't do anything with it. We typically are wanting to sell those to an adjoining landowner just to make their property larger. Because otherwise, a lot of times you just see the cycle continue. Someone buys it, they find out, oh, I can't do anything with it. And then the taxes go unpaid and then we forfeit it. And it's just a cycle. So it's great to get those cleaned up. So the parcel that we are here to talk about today is shown on the screen. It is a parcel in Wilma Township. It is 200 acres and it has, it's bordered by Duncan Road on the west side. It forfeited in 1938, so it is a very old forfeiture. Even with if we do sell this parcel, I do want to note there's still 1,286.4 acres of memorial forest land in Wilma Township. So it's not that we would be going to 0 acres of tax forfeit land in Wilma Township. Currently today, we are proposing to sell it as you can see in that depicted corner, splitting it up just to make sure that we are getting maximum potential value out of it into a 40-acre piece, a 100-acre piece, and a 60-acre piece. So not splitting up into small little chunks or anything like 5 acres, but selling it so that each parcel has a buildable spot on it and has access. Josh, yeah.
Is it all private land around it? It is.
Okay, Greg notes that adjoining, yes, it is all private land around it.
Yes, it is. There's no public land adjoining it.
Okay.
So your options today, obviously, you're going to hold a public hearing, and then your options are to reaffirm the resolution you passed back in March, authorizing the classification of this parcel to non-conservation and that you intend to sell it. Otherwise, your other option would be to just withdraw this parcel from the reclassification and sale listing. That sale listing, typically you will be doing a final approval on that first meeting in August. So you can give us some direction today once the public hearing is complete as to how you would like to move forward with this parcel. I think that's all I've got. Questions?
The land committee's recommendation is to go forward and put it on the auction.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's how this process gets kicked off, is the land committee looks at them and says, yes, this makes
Mr. Chair.
sense.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I feel this is consistent with our overall plan.
Mr.
Chair,
Chair,
I want to hold.
can we have the public hearing before we
Well, I think we
comment?
got two
Yeah, we'll
spots
do
for
the
it.
county, we'll do that after the initial county board discussion, and then we'll do that, yeah.
So I don't have a question. I ask my questions. It's just a comment. I just feel it's consistent with, in support of what the land committee. The plan for growth. That's all my comment.
never got a packet.
What was that? You're done, Matt?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. So right now we're on B, county board questions and discussion. So my question was, you said we receive about $2 an acre for PILT. Do you, and I know every land is different when it gets taxed. Do you know average? Well, is there an average? Not really.
Right, there's not a good average on rural vacant land because it matters whether it is, high ground, low ground, how far it is from a road, all sorts of things.
But I know on PILT, we've been made pretty whole as of lately, haven't we? I mean,
Right, so the PILT on the state lands, for example, not the forfeiture lands, has seen some bumps up.
Okay.
The tax forfeit land has stayed at the $2 an acre.
okay. And I know like on some of this, part of our economic development is developing public land. And part of that is, making it available to more public. But part of that is selling it and developing it as into private as well. So, I mean, I do believe there is that fine line of selling some of it, keeping some of it, doing all that. And yeah, I just think this fits what we're trying to do. So,
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you, or can you say how much public land we already have in Pine County between General Andrews Forest, Changwatana Forest, Nemadji State Forest?
I do have a report that
Banning.
shows that shows you the breakdown of all of those acres.
Like it's around 100,000 acres already, correct? Knocking on
I
the
don't
door.
know offhand. I'd have to pull that report, but I have that report and I can provide it to the commissioners.
Yeah, or make it public, so people are aware of the fact.
Yeah, all of that information is out there.
Because out of 87 counties, we're lucky to have that much up here. And the fine line would be the duplication of services when taxpayers are already paying and providing public land, great amounts of public land. It just seems a duplication of services.
We got a lot less than Lake and Cook and St. Louis County.
Thanks, Kelly.
all right, any other questions from the board? We will open the public hearing. Is there anybody from the public? Yep, come on up. Come up to the deal, state your name, where you're from, and then, I guess you don't have a time limit. We didn't post it, so if you get too crazy, I might give you the.
I'll try not to do that. Mike McCullen, Chairman, Wilmot Township. This goes back about 15 years or so on this land. I've been at this meeting probably 4 times, 5 times now to represent the people of the area on selling this stuff off. About 10, 15 years ago, you guys said, and it's different people been elected over time too, that we were done selling some of this tax forfeited land when we were complaining about out there. They don't make it anymore. When it's gone, it's gone. Now, this 200 acres is going to be sold to 3 people. Now, 3 people or families are going to be able to go on there, not we got how many million people in the state of Minnesota? It's gone. They can't use it no more. My grandkids can't use it. Nobody can use it no more except for these private people. And it's a lot of big money in the cities. They've been coming up here and buying pieces like this and nobody can go on it no more. I know one of the last ones, we had our best blueberry patch in the whole township got sold off. That's where everybody picked. Not no more. Nobody can go in there. I know Greg Beck has done a lot with the Memorial Forest stuff with you guys, and we appreciate that being saved. But this is, from what I understand, this is the last of the tax forfeited stuff in Wilmot Township to be sold because there is no more. You've sold it all. I'd compare that to if one of you guys had a place next to Yellowstone, I think we should sell that. Let's sell it. Let's get people owning it instead of letting you guys use it. That's what you're doing to us and the people that are around there and even the hunters. There's going to be some issues this fall if this gets sold with some of the ones that hunt out there, because there are little spots where they camp on that property where they got little roads in and say campers and they hunt. And there's gonna be some conflicts this fall. There was on the stuff in front of it towards Duxbury Road the past couple of years. And I don't know, the people that I'm representing don't care for it being sold. I guess we're done with it now because there is no more. But you gotta think about the rest of the county too. I understand raising taxes, everything costs a lot. But you're representing not just the people in this township, you're representing the whole state. Because people come from all over the state, all over the country up here. And when it's gone. And you guys have kind of done that. And we feel kind of bad about that. At least we got some stuff in Memorial Forest, and that's a good thing. But I've also been told you guys can take that out of Memorial Forest. And so that doesn't reassure that anyway either. But that's the opinion of the people. And I guess when it comes down to voting and stuff in the fall, I got to tell people what my conscience says and what's going on down here. And let people know that when it comes to election times. I know this last election, we changed people. Mr. Nelson got back in. And I know from what I understand, it's all secondhand, that you were pretty much in favor of selling a bunch of this off. Well, you were gone. A lot of stuff got sold off that you might not realize, but that is the last piece we had left in the township. But anyway, thanks for listening to me. I won't try and tidy up a lot, but think about this. It's no different than next door to you guys or wanting to go to Yellowstone. It's gone. They sold it all. And I know the feds are fighting on this. I know right now about selling some stuff off, and they're gonna have a big battle in this too. So anyway, thank you for listening to me. Any questions that I could answer for anybody? Okay.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Any other public? Okay, we will close the public comment and open it back up to the board. Kelly, I know you touched on it. There was over 1,000. What was the acres left still in Wilma? Of just county land?
Going from memory, 1,286.4.
Okay, after we sold this.
Right.
Okay, all right, so just to clarify, so there still is over 1,200 acres in Wilma. And that was in Memorial Forest. And just to clarify, the Memorial Forest is in conservation. It can be, just like anything can be undone, but it does take public comment. It does take board action to do it. As much as it can be memorialized, it is memorialized. And I think previous boards and this board has, or most of this board, I would say, has memorialized the forest as much as we can. And it shows our commitment to it. There is, some of this, I will say, we are interested in selling some of it, but not all of it. So, and I do understand your concern. I do. Mm-hmm. Yep, for sure. Is there any other questions or, yep, go ahead.
Maybe just a couple of questions, specifically for Mike. Thanks for coming. Do you, because this, you said this has been an issue for, going back 15 years for you guys. What's your township's present land use zoning? What's the minimum that you can sell?
We do not have zoning at all.
So what is the minimum that you can sell?
A few townships, I think, in the whole county that doesn't have zoning. And we are working on something on that right now because we have some issues that we're looking at that could affect the community also. As far as land sales, you've been able to chop up 100 acres into 1 acre lots the way it's been. And I don't know we don't have county zoning, but I'm not sure if the county can step in on that or not. Kelly, can they?
Right, so. 2.5 acres.
Okay, but right now we are working on something with the lawyers and stuff because we got to do some different things because of some changes that are happening in our community. But we've been real laid back. We haven't raised our levy, I don't think, in 10 years. And we've been able to do that just working with the people and doing things smartly and with our monies that we don't have to necessarily bring more taxes into the township so much.
And not to butt in on you, Roger, but I'm gonna pitch the county zoning a little bit here because that's a big deal.
Yes,
I would say just touch base with Kelly's department a
Yep,
little bit on. that,
absolutely.
because-
I've got copies and I've been sharing it with a lot of the people.
Yeah.
And we got voted in by the people.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
our job, whether we like it or not, We might not agree with them, but if they say 10 of them want this and one wants this, we have to and we're one of the ones, the one that doesn't want it. We have to represent the 10 people that want it because that's what they made us do. Not made us do, that's what they brought us into office for.
Yep.
So
Yep,
I
I agree.
know Kelly on this one. People have read the county zoning. It's very, very strict. It's real restrictive. And the people live up here because they like to live out here. A bad example, they want to go outside and let's say pee off the deck.
Yep.
Sorry, but
I will say it isn't restrictive. It may be scary, but it's not restrictive. And I think that's maybe part of having the conversation with her department.
Sure.
It might ease a
Yep.
little bit of that.
Would-
So maybe just have the conversation with them.
Sure.
And I would like to stay on track here and not get.
Right, right. I
but
get it. I get
yeah.
it.
So Roger, go ahead. Sorry to butt in.
Thanks. I think you answered the question,
Okay.
the main question that I had. Thanks, Mike.
It's about the people. That's what it comes down to. And Kelly, we should get together with some of the people sometime and make a little thing.
Any other questions from? Or yeah.
So, I appreciate your coming and I appreciate your concerns. And you talked about representing your people, which I appreciate that. Which we all have to represent our people, whoever they are. And I look at neighboring, townships. Your neighbor just next to you, Arna, has gone on record saying, we want public land sold because, and their board has taken that position, almost the exact opposite of you. And so how do we represent that viewpoint as well? I look at Danforth Township, your neighbor to the other side of you, and they have a 40-acre minimum, which they've had for a long time. Because I look at this map and I see this is a big chunk, but you look around it and we've got all these little breakups. And I think that's the concern that I heard you talking about was all these little pieces. I'm just gonna say, I'm encouraging, if that's an issue for your township, look at some of those land use and that may be a way to solve an issue that your specific township has. Because when we have a neighboring township that says do sell and one that says don't sell, and we're trying to figure out public policy, it would be, let's bring it down to your township. It would be almost like, saying, well, north of the Duxbury Road, you can't sell anything, but south of the Duxbury Road, you can, and you would see that as being, well, but that's a little bit of the quandary that I'm faced with in that respect. And so, do you understand where I'm coming from?
I'm representing the Wilmot Township, so that's why I'm speaking about it. What Aaron, Dozy, all them guys do, that's their deal. My people might not like it that live in our township as much, because they might go over there and hunt some of that stuff. But that's their township to run, and we're trying to run our township away, and I'm only talking specifically about our township property now, but in the big broad spectrum, it all applies kind of.
A lot of public land.
Okay, is there any other county board discussion? All right, we'll move on then to F. Consider reaffirming Pine County Resolution 2025-14, authorizing the classification of non-conservation and the intent to sell listed parcels. We have a motion.
I'll move it, Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
A motion by Ludwig. A second.
I will make that motion and second it.
Nelson will second. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing.
All right.
All right. Thanks, guys. Now we'll move on to our second public hearing. We got a lot of public hearings today. Continuation of the local option sales tax for transportation enacted under resolution 2021-61 and modification of the project list.
Okay,
Mark.
so, we started our sales tax in January of 2022. The collections have gone well. And at that time, we had a list that was authorized, approved through the resolution to spend sales tax funds on those projects. Over the years, we've continued to seek additional state and federal funds for any of those projects that we can get funds for, and we've had some success. And so we're looking to add 3 new projects onto that list and put that into our 5-year transportation improvement plan. The 3 projects would be County Road 124, surfacing that project. It's 1 mile long. It's northeast of Pine City, a lot of development going on up there. County Road 151, that's a 4-mile north-south stretch west of Rutledge. We've put a lot of money, cutting the hills and making improvements to that road. With long-term plans of paving it. I know there's gravel pits and, campground out there. And so, look at an opportunity here where we could potentially pave that. And then County Road 172, it's 3 miles east-west out east of Hinckley, and it would complete a 10-ton loop around from Trunk Highway 48. And similar there, they've got obviously big agriculture and gravel pits and things. And lots of, there's some state lands, developable lands, reservation lands, things like that. So lots of activity that could happen out there. We'll continue to pursue the federal funds for any of these projects and any of the projects on the list. And but I guess the main point is we're not looking to increase the collection amount, which was 17.4 million originally, and or 15 years, whichever was going to come first. Well, you know, the state's estimates have been way off. We're collecting about 1.7, 1.8 million a year. So we would probably be collecting for 10 years at that rate. So that's gone better than expected as well. So, and I think the other caveat would be, you know, probably in 4 or 5 years, we'd come back again and say, hey, we got some more money, we think, or we're in trouble, projects are more expensive, you know, so it could go either way. It's hard to project out 10 years or 15 years. So that's what we're asking today. If it's approved, Aaron's gonna help us out here and go through the 5-year plan, and we could add those projects in today and proceed on continuing with those projects. So any questions?
Mr. Chair,
Mm-hmm.
I have one, just because I can't remember how it worked, but when we originally established this, it was for the county roads that don't receive state aid, right? And then somewhere, I mean, I know what I don't understand is how we can, certain projects, we can use some on a county state aid highway. Do we do so?
I think for the most part, bridge projects, some of those are on a state aid highway. We had a big backlog of bridges. Like I said, we've pursued on Casatu and Rock Creek that we're finishing today. We got $2 million of federal funds paid for the whole project, so we didn't have to draw for that. Things were a little bit more up in the air when we started this, I think, on some of those bridge projects. So what we're finding is we've been able to supplement, for the most part, additional funds. On a state aid bridge, we can get 50% bridge bonding money. So we still have to come up with the other half. And so instead of eating up some of our state aid on that, we were looking at sales tax. On a local county highway bridge, we can get 100% bond money. So that's why maybe you see some of those state aid bridges on there. And then I think we had one paving project on there that was a state aid 25 because it's not eligible for construction funds from the state. So we would have to eat into our maintenance funds on that.
No, so I get it. Yeah, I just.
Kind of a horse apiece
Yeah.
how that shakes out. But, yeah, so I think we'll get some more state and federal funds on some of those projects that'll help absorb these projects and maybe even add some in the future. It also hits on, I know Commissioner Nelson wants to see, is kind of pushed for more gravel roads converted to paved roads. I think everybody wants to see that. It's a slow process, but this would add
Yeah, okay.
9 miles.
Yeah, thank you. I just,
Yep.
I'm sure you probably had a discussion in
Well-
the transportation committee.
Yep.
Okay. Is that it? 3 years?
That's all I got.
Okay.
I didn't have a fancy presentation. Sorry about that.
No PowerPoint or streamers?
I haven't quite figured that out.
County board questions and discussions. Did we kind of already go through that? Any other county board discussion?
Thanks, Mike.
Yep, thanks, Mike.
All right, any public comment or public testimony? I don't see any, well. Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Additional public or county board discussion. All right, now, Steve, I'll let you
All right,
consider the resolution 2025-24.
I'll move it.
Continuing the local under, okay. All right, so Steve moved it. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Ludwig, second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oh, same thing. All right, transportation improvement plan. Now we get
Yeah,
Mark again,
yeah.
or Aaron.
Aaron's gonna help me out today since I have to be the administrator, I guess.
Okay,
So Aaron, go ahead, I'll fill in.
Good morning, Aaron Gunderson, Assistant County Engineer at the Highway Department. I'm presenting on the Highway Department's Transportation Improvement Plan. It's a 5-year roadwork plan. Basically, you should have a list. Looks like this, and then a corresponding map that's color coded. The list gives the road name along with a brief description and work and location. This 5-year plan that we're looking at amounts to about 127 miles of road resurfacing as well as bridges over the next 5 years. That works out to meet our goal of redoing every given surface every 20 years. So we want to get 20 years out of our pavements, and this is meeting that goal. When you look at the map, if you've had a chance to look at it, it's color coded by year. There's a good mix of work throughout the county. We try to group work together each year just because you get the economy of scale and you can have a contractor working out of the same pit for multiple projects. So we get better pricing that way. So I wanted to mention these CSA. When you look at this list, you'll see CSA, that's County State Aid Highway. That is, that comes from our state aid account. The CRs, county roads, those are typically your 3-digit number roads. Those are county roads. That funding typically comes from the sales tax. So when we redo a state aid highway, we've got state standards that we bring the road to. When we do a county road, we've got county standards that we bring the road to. In addition to this, we apply for grants. We applied for and were granted recently 1.75 million from the Minnesota State Park Road Fund. And that's to do the entrance to St. Croix State Park. That's County State Aid Highway 22. It's about 7 miles from Trunk Highway 48 down to the park headquarters. So that'll likely be going on next year. So we were awarded the money for that. Any questions on the 5-year plan?
so they pay the whole project or do they just pay a portion?
That's gonna pay for probably 2/3 of the project, depending on the scope and, you know, how many culverts need to be done, things like that.
Okay,
So we apply for, based on how much is in the account, we'll apply for as much as we can get.
okay. I know it's a county road, but I was just curious.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, and that's a statewide competitive, all the DNR properties, all the public accesses, all the lake, I mean, it, you know, it's Minnesota, so it's a while, it's a competitive process, so Aaron did a good job of went over to Alexandria and came back with 1.75 million, so it was worth his mileage, I think, to get over there.
Mhm.
The other thing I wanted to point out, Aaron didn't mention is the 46 bridge over the Moose Horn. I don't know if you recall, we kind of held off on that because we wanted to get bond money and the legislature came through for us. So we're gonna get about 900,000 of bond money for that as well. So.
Good. Okay.
And we talked about in the past, our pavements, trying to keep them in decent shape. They get, you know, the public gets pretty upset when they get bad. So we're trying to keep them in as good a condition as we can. We set a goal of 20 to 25 years. Now this 5-year plan, if we did that many miles every 5 years, we'd do them in 17 years. But we're not gonna brag about that because the next 5 years, it might be less, you know, so some years we're doing more, some years we're doing less. We will, this year, we're not doing as much. We're trying to catch up on our account. And then at the end of the month, I think we'll get that giant check for 5-some million, so we'll be adding the Trunk Highway 123. That'll go into our fund and kind of help us cash flow for the next 10 years. So I think kind of made it through the whole COVID era where we lost revenue, which, you know, was kind of unique because everybody in the public was getting money, all these different entities in the government were getting money, and here the highway departments were getting less. So we survived, we've rebounded, we rose from the ashes, and I think, you know, and I appreciate Aaron helping us out here, and he's doing a great job, so that's all I got.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. You mentioned COVID, so it just reminded me the supply chain issues that you guys had during the whole COVID thing. Box culvert and all your supplies, everything's completely back to normal pretty much with supplies.
Maybe not completely back to normal, but it's predictable.
Okay,
Yeah, it's predictable and it's not as bad. Box culverts in particular, you're able to get them the same year, whereas a couple years ago you couldn't.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, one other point is we do have a lack of workers available for construction type jobs. And so some of our jobs this year have kind of drug out a little bit because they don't have as many crews as they want. They can't fill the positions, and so they're kind of scrambling. So we're trying to work with the contractors because if you're a county that like pins down the project, it has to be this like MnDOT does, it's gonna cost you a lot of money. So we're trying to be more flexible with the contractors and that we get a better bid price and it works for them and works for everybody else. So if you notice, some of our projects maybe not going as fast as we'd like them to, that's probably the primary reason.
Sounds good.
Well, what I found out is people hate bad roads. I think they hate worse construction. And then the 20 years in between, they don't say nothing. And it's kind of ridiculous, but you know,
Well, Mr. Chair, they hate good roads too, because people drive too fast on them, so it's a tough one. We need roads about 10 years old. That seems to be the sweet spots.
Yeah, nothing makes my phone ring more than road problems.
Right.
so I do appreciate your guys's what you guys do. You do guys do. It's kind of one of them things when you don't hear nothing, it's usually a good thing. And I apologize when I don't call you and just say, hey, thanks, because you guys are doing good stuff. And
You say thanks every 2 weeks.
And you don't have to run and beat the next guy because it bounces or what. So, okay, sounds good. Well, appreciate it. Thanks, guys, and keep up the good work.
Mr. Chair?
You take action on that?
Did we
haven't
have to?
voted yet, but
Oh, I didn't even realize there was one. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
But I do have a comment that, again, I thank you guys for working on this. You know, our administration and transportation committee JJ and Steve, you guys work through this. As I look at this map, you see these color codes, and yeah, everybody wants theirs done this year, but I think you guys have done a good job of, it's gonna be, they're like regional almost in a sense. So we're gonna get the best bang for the buck by not having a contractor bid one little section at the south and one way at the north. But all these things to get our biggest bang for the buck. So thanks and that's part of your flexibility, and there are a few dirt improvement roads that I see in this plan, and that's great to hear that that is on our forefront as well. So great, thanks, guys.
The other biggest question was when are you gonna fix my township road? But we do need
Probably
a,
better than your county road, isn't it?
I don't know. We do need a motion on this, so.
I'll make that motion with the comment.
Yep.
I'd like to thank the highway department for showing up to meetings is important. And I sat in a meeting with Mark and Aaron a couple of times when MnDOT District 1 looks at those guys and says, could you use that money on that bike trail? We've got 900,000 or something left. And yes, we could. And the very next meeting, they found another, 700,000 or 800,000. So that bike trail they're building from Rock Creek to Pine City is being built because these guys show up to meetings and they're well respected. They got plans on the table. And so somebody in the United States was going to get that bike trail, and it might as well be us. But if you're not there and you're not doing your homework, you're not going to get the money.
Thank
So,
you.
That's a motion to approve.
Okay, we have a second.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Holland, second by Ludwig. Do we have any discussion on transportation improvement plan?
There's maybe one other comment, if I could, quick. If I remember right at our transportation meeting, the amount of savings that just happened with the change of price in the petroleum products with this. Was that right? Was it 30-some% savings? Just by timing and.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, 30-some%. So asphalt per ton went from a high 70s per ton to like $49-50 per ton. Part of that
Savings for taxpayers.
Part of that has to do is we look at where MnDOT's working, where they're going to be working next year and 2 years and 3 years out. And we try to time our lettings so that we know there's a contractor in that area already set up in a pit looking for work. But yeah, probably 30% reduction.
That's great. Great numbers. Thank you.
All right, any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. All right, Central Minnesota Jobs and Training. We have presentation by Dina Wernos and Deanna Ristamski. Sorry, I'm gonna butcher it all.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. So yes, good morning. And I have a presentation as well. Before I get started, I think I'll introduce myself quickly. My name is Dina Wernes. I am the Executive Director with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. Commissioner Waldholm is our Joint Powers Board member here from your Board of Commissioners. We have had the privilege of Commissioner Holland on our Joint Powers Board in the past. And I believe, Mr. Chair, you might have just been introduced a little bit when you were an alternate for Terry Lovegren. So yes, thank you for that.
Yep.
Absolutely. I do have a couple members of CMJTS from different facets of our agency. I thought I'd just let them introduce themselves real quick.
program manager. I've been with Central Minnesota Jobs and Training for over 22 years. So I oversee all of the youth program activities, initiatives across Northern.
I'm Brent Thompson. Currently serving on the board of First CMPPF. I represent the business to the board. Impact manufacturing. I can't say a whole lot about the board yet because I'm really still learning. There's a lot to it. Pretty complex org. But I can say that pretty strong. So far, the focus that I've had is to one board meeting to the next.
Thank you very much. In your packets, there is some information that I'll be going through. There is a copy of the PowerPoint presentation on the left-hand side in case you want to review it later. There is also for you information. There's our annual report in there as well as a gatefold brochure just to give you some general information about who we are and the services we deliver. On the right-hand side, I will talk briefly about basically who we are. We are Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services. We are your workforce development board. We have 21 board members, 51% of which must be business representation to ensure that business has a voice in the workforce development initiatives that we work on throughout the year. We do serve 11 counties. You can see them on the board there. We go as far north here as Pine County, and we go down as far south as Renville County. So we kind of snake through central Minnesota, hence our name. We have a range of services. We serve job seekers from age 14 to 104. If you're interested in work and you need some help getting there, we have a service or a program that will be able to assist you. We also serve businesses in our 11 counties, and I'm going to talk in a little bit more depth about the services for both of those populations. Just wanted to give you a general quick introduction. This sheet in your packet shows you all of the different programs and services that we have available to the specific target populations. I also wanted to explain quickly that we do have multiple funding sources available within our agency. There is a list for you in your packet. It's called grant funds, and you can see there are about 27 grants on here. We are consistently out there working, trying to establish new funding to serve our job seeker, to serve our business, to serve basically our communities and improve that economic value. With our budgeting, it's broken up. We have adult programs where we serve individuals 18 and older, and that's that orange square or that orange piece of the pie in there. We have youth, which is the teal or the blue color that we serve. We also have public assistance programs in 6 of the 11 counties that we serve. Counties are able to put out RFPs for providers every 3 to 5 years. They can do it more often if they please. And right now we have contracts with 6. Pine is one of those counties where we serve our MFIP or our public assistance recipients. And then we have some competitive grants here and there, maybe foundation dollars. We have some private donations. We use that funding again, usually to serve the businesses in our community. We do, as I stated, have a fund development team. Leslie Witowitz is our workforce development manager. Her role is to respond to requests for proposals, apply for funding. Every time Diana sees a new grant to serve the youth, she's sending it to Leslie saying we need to apply. So I think right now Leslie has 6 to 8 grants that we're waiting to hear back on, and she's probably working on 3 or 4 at any given time. Part of our goal as an agency is to become less reliant on state and federal funding. We do have quite a bit of state and federal funds to deliver the programs, and they're very unpredictable. They're quite fickle at times. And so for us, we're trying to expand our opportunities to diversify that funding and not have to worry so much about what legislators are going to decide to do with the funds from year to year. I don't think I have any information in your packet on that. So we'll move on to this one. It is a bubble sheet here. The bubble sheet is intended to easily explain some of the services that we have available for job seekers. And when I say job seeker, I do mean as young as 14. If they're interested in working, we want to make sure that we provide them with the resources and the services. We are not a placement agency. So we will not find an individual a job. What our work is for, we essentially counsel the individual. We do an assessment. We identify where they might have skills gaps. Maybe they have poor work history, or maybe they've been dislocated from a job they had for the last 30 years and they have no idea what to do. They might have some fear, some frustration. So we work with job seekers where they're at, and we help them get to a point where they're going back to work or starting that first or new career. Our goal is to get people back to work as quickly as possible. It is expensive to be unemployed. So we want to make sure we get people back to work quickly. Some of those things we can do, we can assess with resume review. We have individuals who are job seeking, again, they have never had a job search in their life. They might have been working for a company for 40 years. That company needs to close. They got that job with a handshake right out of high school. So there's some individuals, they just don't know how to start. We have that programming to help them. We can also assist job seekers with maybe some upskilling. Maybe they need a specific certification. Maybe they need more of a credential. We have some funding available where we can help that individual get through the training that they need, either short-term or long-term, and then connect them with employers in our communities that are seeking those specific skills. So again, here's a list on your sheet or on the screen here of some of those individuals that we serve. We've got the adults, the youth. We do serve entry-level individuals, those first-time workers. We sometimes see career changers. Maybe they've been in an industry that's fading out, and so they need to transfer their skills. We can help with kind of moving them into a new occupation or industry. We serve low-income individuals. We have multiple grants available to serve the low income, help them get those credentials they need to become eligible for those family wage jobs. Unemployed, underemployed, bottom line, if you need help looking for work, we are available. The next screen here then talks about some of the services we have for our businesses. There are a couple of flyers in your packet that help explain that. We have one in here called Make Your Business Grow. We have business service coordinators, and in your area on this map here, you will see Rebecca Perotti is your business service coordinator here in Pine County. Some of you may know Rebecca. She's pretty much everywhere when it comes to trying to help business. She sits on some economic development teams. I know she's working with businesses all of the time in this area. Some of those things that she can help with. Sometimes businesses just want some one-on-one coaching. I'm not getting the applicants I'm looking for. How can you help me? So she can sit down with them and give them some of that feedback, that information. We host hiring events either on site with the employer, or we might do that at one of our Career Force Center locations where we're boasting about that opening for the employer and bringing job seekers in to get information. We do help employers if they need to close their plant or their business. Maybe maybe they need to downsize, and they're worried about their workers. What am I gonna do with these 20 individuals? We can come in upfront before that layoff occurs and start working with the even individual right away. So we can start helping them prepare for that transition. It helps put the employer at ease, and it also helps the worker. Our goal is to do everything we can to keep that worker in place until the last day of the job, and then they're ready to transition to a new job, and we've already taken the steps to get them there. Some other things we can do is demonstrate that current labor market information for employers and our job seekers. There are all kinds of resources available to businesses as well from a financial perspective. We do have what we call on-the-job training. Some people know that as earn and learn, but with on-the-job training, we can assist businesses where they might have an applicant they are interested in hiring. Maybe they did a really good job on the interview. They might have some great interpersonal skills, but they're missing a few technical skills. They can connect with Rebecca, and what we're able to do is help that employer to hire the individual and agree to train them on the job. So we can reimburse the wage for that individual to the employer up to 50% for 6 months. So that's the initiative for the employer to essentially take a risk, right? Take a chance on someone that they want to hire, and then encourage, or we help with the financing then to train that individual. Another opportunity we have for businesses is that incumbent worker training. So with incumbent worker training, our focus is one of two things. Businesses are either trying to avert a layoff, maybe they know that they're not able to compete right now, they're concerned, maybe they have to shut down a department or their entire business, or maybe they just need help upskilling their workers so that they're, for example, we've done leadership skills training with high-level individuals because employers noticed we have a lot of turnover. What's going on? So in that case, we were able to help with leadership training. So with the incumbent worker, we can do up to $25,000 per year per employer. We help with the cost of whatever training they need to upskill those workers. It's a great opportunity for businesses again. Maybe they buy a new piece of equipment and they don't have anybody on site to work that machine. Incumbent worker training is a great opportunity for them then. All they need to do is complete that application with Rebecca, and then we're available to assist. The other flyer in your packet talks about Rebecca hosts an HR group on a monthly basis. And it's a great opportunity again for HR or other individuals in the business who do the hiring and the management of people. It's a place for getting feedback, kind of a support group for those HR individuals. What are you doing? How are you handling this situation? What kind of resources do you have? So we host that event for businesses. And I believe Rebecca has about 40 individuals attending right now. So there's a good mix of voices there. Then I want to highlight just a few of our innovative ideas, our new initiatives. There's information explaining some of these in your packets. One of the things that we do and we're very proud of is Operation Exploration Youth Camps. And that's Diana's brainchild. We help youth, we expose them to occupations, trades, healthcare from a hands-on perspective. We partner with training providers, we partner with employers, we bring them on site for a week, and then the kids just get to try things out. It's a great opportunity for our youth to identify maybe what interests they have in a career pathway moving forward. But it also gives our businesses the opportunity to expose them to the work that they do. Anything else I should say about that? Is that okay? Perfect.
A video too.
Oh.
And send to you, it gives you a little bit more.
Yeah, on our website.
Does that tie in with the Fine Tech's Summer Academy? two separate things? And didn't you do something at the 49er Training Center?
Yes, our trades camps had been held at the 49ers trainer in the past, yep.
Yes.
It's open to all youth, correct? All youth?
14 to 24. So our age group is age 14, and then we go up to what we call young adults. So if we can serve individuals eligible 14 to 24. Another thing that we are doing, we're assisting with registered apprenticeships. So we are, as an agency or a company, actually applying for our own registered apprenticeship for training individuals as career navigators. We wanted to go through the whole process as a company so that we can help coach other businesses who might be interested in developing registered apprenticeship. One of the key reasons for getting yourself identified as a registered apprenticeship through the Department of Labor is then those skills gained by that worker are transferable and they're recognized as certification. Registered apprenticeship does not need to mean union. So it can be completely separate. So we work with all employers, any industry. If they're interested, we help them with the coaching and the resources to get them connected to the right parties to develop that programming. We also have some professional networking groups for job seekers who may have lost a job and they're maybe at higher levels. Coordinators, managers, directors, and they want to connect with other high-level job seekers. So we do host a professional networking group as well. The next thing I wanted to talk about is we did host some strategic planning back at the end of March. Our goal with strategic planning was to bring in a coordinator. His name was Alan. He was with DMC Amplified. He came in and he ran an 8-hour session with our Joint Powers Board commissioners, our Workforce Development Board directors, and then our leadership team. So there were about 40 of us that day, and we were able to go through this 8-hour experience and identify what were our key pillars. Where do we want to focus our energy over the next couple of years? There is just a brief overview for you of what that looked like for us in that experience. What we ended maybe staked our flag on was number one, we need to do a better job of storytelling. It's very difficult to promote our programming and our services when we don't know how to tell that story from a consistent perspective. So we're going to develop storytelling. We are bringing in trainers to help our board members do that. We want to make sure we're all running on the same script. The other reason why we want to improve storytelling is for that second purpose is to increase our brand recognition. CMJTS has been in the communities for 40 years, and we are still the best kept secret in town for job seekers and businesses. That's very frustrating for us. We're working on how do we improve that? How do we change that? One of the ways that we'd like to do that is ask our county commissioners, as you're out there talking with businesses, as you're out there talking with job seekers, remember CMJTS, send them to us. Regardless of what the need is, if we can't help them, we will find somebody who can. So please make sure you're referring them. We're asking for ambassadors, essentially. Anything that I missed, Diana or Brent?
Dina talked about ambassadors. I've been with CMJTS, like I said, for over 22 years, but I live in Pine County and I've been raised in Pine County. So I have a passion for this county. If you are looking at some of the workforce development funds that come from the state, we continue to see those funds, direct appropriations, go to the metro area. Our greater Minnesota, our counties like Pine County are kind of getting left behind. So as ambassadors, I'm just really reaching out, not only as a youth program manager, but someone who has been here in Pine County. We really need champions for our area. I can sit down, talk with any of you, how that might look, or just do, I mean, our whole entire board is open to that. Whether it's signing letters for us or just, like Dina said, advocating for our services. It's really, really needed right now. So I know Commissioner, you're on our board, so I look forward to hopefully seeing you in September. But if you want to meet ahead of time, you know, to talk about initiatives, I'm happy to do that. Any questions from a youth program perspective?
Thank you.
Oh, and thank you for coming to our fundraiser. I
Oh, yeah, that
appreciate
was-
that. That was very much appreciated.
Question? Anything? Right. Okay, great. Any questions for us then?
One question, you worked with the Sandstone Correctional Facility back in 2023. Are you gonna get back together with them? Or was that just a one-time?
We've actually been there on multiple occasions and we have a pretty good relationship with them. Diana has a personal relationship with them, which connected us. So yes, we've been out there multiple times. We've hosted some pretty intensive workshops there, helping individuals learn how to basically own their situation and then how do they communicate that when they're released and back out in the communities. We also talk about the resources and the services that we have available. As you know, Diana talks about Pine County and the youth, and that's her passion. My passion is helping those second chance individuals get back to work and helping employers understand they're probably some of your best workers once you get them on staff. So
Okay.
yes, we have
Yeah, I
done
just-
multiple things and we will continue to, absolutely.
Okay. So on the one here, it was November of 2023, you mentioned, and it's not on your March 11th of 2025. So you're still working.
Yes, the
with these folks
services.
to be safe,
Yes.
But the reentry workshop?
Yep, so typically, the grant that you're referring to, that one ended in June of 2024. But we had a specific grant from the state that allowed us to go in and do training and then enroll individuals and help them find work once they released. It was called Project 180. And so 180 essentially indicated we could serve them if they were with 180 days of release. So then we would go into the correctional facility and work with them there, or 180 days post-release. So that was the eligibility criteria.
Okay, thank you. Looks
You
like it
bet.
was a pretty good turnout, 85 individuals? I think?
Yes, yes, it was great.
All right, any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for what you guys do. Appreciate it. So,
Absolutely.
all right, we will move on to Minnesota County's Intergovernmental Trust or Intercontinental Trust? Or is it intergovernmental? That's what I said. It says, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Joe Saminsky. I'm a risk management consultant for the Minnesota Counties Intergovernmental Trust, or MCIT. Came to connect with you, as we like to do every couple of years, to talk about the state of the trust and talk about some of the things we're facing and a little bit about background of what we are and what we're not. And so I appreciate your time. Just start out, I wanted to talk about MCIT. We are a joint powers entity formed in 1979 with a real tough work comp market. And we take care of insurance services. We're not an insurance company. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but we provide insurance claims payments, risk management and loss control services. And we have No profit motive, being we are not a company, we're a joint powers entity. You're not going to see advertising, you're not going to see sales commissions. We're not profit motivated. And one of the parts of our mission statement is if cost effective coverage. We take that very seriously, and we'll talk a little bit more about what we're working through in the inflationary world today. Our coverages are tailored to governmental operations, and the contributions are priced, or that's what you pay in what you might call premium in the private insurance world. Your contributions are priced to have enough money to pay claims, run a stable long-term operation without over collecting. That's a very important aspect of what we consider on a regular basis. One unique aspect is that our board is comprised of your peers, other board members for counties, and other auditors, administrators. There's a comparable set there of individuals who, when they make their decisions, are feeling the effect of the same decisions when they run their own counties. Beyond claims payments, like I mentioned, we provide risk management and loss control consultations to hopefully help to reduce or even eliminate a lot of the claims that you run into. Commissioners can make a difference with this panel. This is not necessarily a list of items to start doing. It's a list of things to keep doing well. And some of the things that we mentioned is learning coverages with MCIT and how they apply before making final decisions, continuing to work with the county attorneys with reviewing contracts and potentially with the risk management team. Staying alert for data and cybersecurity threats, that's on everybody's mind nowadays, and a constant battle. Supporting safety and risk management initiatives such as safety committees and return injured employees to work programs. I won't go through the whole list, but just some reminders of some of the things that you do that are important to ensure the success of MCIT. Members are doing their part on a regular basis with supporting these initiatives for loss control, risk management, and taking steps when you run into those claim scenarios to mitigate your losses, and just engaging with MCIT and obviously taking care of financial requirements with trust. On the next page, I wanted to talk about reinsurance a bit. And if you're not familiar with reinsurance, I guess a short way to put it is it's the insurance for insurance companies, or in this case, a trust. We've run into a constant increase in the cost of reinsurance, 10% increase in 2024 on reinsurance costs. And a lot of this is due to increase in property values, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. Some of the things that MCIT is doing is considering changes in the retention, or what you might call the deductible for reinsurance. So one of the things that MCIT did is when it came to casualty, we increased the retention or deductible from $850,000 to $850,000 to $1 million. This prevented a 21.5% increase in that reinsurance cost and kept it at 1%. Another thing that they did is increase the workers' compensation retention from $500,000 to $1 million. And this saved on $470,000 in costs for premiums for reinsurance. And the next panel talks about total insured values continuing to climb. I don't know that this is going to be a surprise for anybody, but property values are skyrocketing. They're increasing every year at an increasing amount. So what that turns into is further challenge in the cost to cover the same properties. There is obviously a rise in labor and materials that contribute to the valuations on the buildings. There's also this reinsurance that is increasing and at a regular rate. So we're getting hit from a few different directions with property coverages. One of the positives in the property world is that there were some enhancements in the coverage for property in the equipment breakdown coverages that's provided. Some of the things that were added were coverage for loss from electronic circuitry, resulting in equipment breakdowns, costs associated with maintaining green designation, and funds for off-premises equipment. So there's some enhancements that even amongst all the bad news with the pricing on and costs for property. On the next panel, it's called Rates Anticipate Expenses. And this is talking about the contributions. If you look at the graph, if you look on the lower end, you see a large orange bar in 2023, then that's orange for workers' compensation. Just to give you some background on that, that was the resolution of a lot of COVID claims that basically fell off the system. So just to give you an idea as to what that was, it's stabilized since then. The pricing increase in 2025 of 11.2% for property and casualty is primarily due to the spike in the property values that we were talking about. With all of that, we also issue a dividend with any dollars from an actuarial sense that are okay to give back to the members. As we discussed, we're not profit motivated, and that money goes back to the members after the actuaries tell us it's we're okay to do so. This is sometimes affected by investments or lower claims. This year, it's completely from workers' compensation due to the issues with the property challenges, I guess you would say. And that gives the number for the solid return dividends to the county. I'm moving kind of quickly, and you're welcome to interrupt me at any point if you have any questions. So going into cyber claims, if you look at the graph, you're going to see that on the bottom line, these are the numbers of claims per year. It's trending upward. Not a shocker, right? The upper line gives you the cost of the claims, and this is an overall cost, and this is for the whole trust, keep in mind. That spiked in 2023. And the good news about that is afterwards, it seems to be trending downward dramatically. To give you a generalization on what's behind that, the ransomware claims have really fallen off in that year. And I credit the members for doing a really good job on trying to tackle that issue, especially with that ransomware. A lot of this comes down to email. I think it's somewhere around 90% of all cyber losses and the various kinds of losses start with email. So the counties are doing a great job. All the members are doing a great job with email filtering and beefing up security and training the employees. And I don't know if you have individually been part of the training that's out there. I think all the counties that I've talked to are doing some sort of training to avoid phishing and clickbait, basically. And that training is going a long ways. And it's really helped train employees to try to avoid clicking on something you shouldn't, to start that whole process of trying to attack a claim. On the next page, talking about workers' compensation and the mod rate, which is the equation in short that MCIT uses to predict costs for work comp for members. Any mod rate of 1.0 would be right on target for the expected claim development for your factors. Anything over 1.0 can increase the contribution, and a factor of less than 1.0 would decrease your contribution or your cost. This panel states your actual mod rate, slightly over 1.0, but trending downward from the last couple of years. So some positive signs there too. The next panel is somewhat of a summary of claims for the whole trust. This isn't member specific, but just gives you some background on what we're working through for claims. Some of the numbers I'll just draw attention to real quickly. Sheriff and jail seems on this chart to be a higher number at 661. However, this is not a negative trend. They're in a dangerous job, and the work comp claims are just occur more often. It's a 24/7 job too, so to be expected to a certain degree. It's part of what we absorb with our members. looking on the lower end of the chart with the property and liability claims, the auto has a higher number, but it's a lower value per claim. And that again is something that is part of our model and what we're able to absorb for our members. The law enforcement liability claims, I think everybody knows that we're in a tough environment when it comes to lawsuits with law enforcement. These are just some general numbers for you to digest. On the last section, it talks about some of the things that are included with membership with MCIT, kind of that value add with MCIT, just aside from payment of claims and management of claims. Knowledgeable consultations from risk management consultants like myself, loss control consultants, and I know that you work with Nick Lindberg for loss control with MCIT, and hopefully he continues to be a part of safety council meetings to help build structure there. And programs and services that are included, the employee assistance program, I have great numbers to report for you. The county's doing a great job of getting that out to the employees to help them out with their issues. And the EAP usage, they have a factor on it. And the numbers that you have are 7.69 and 5.11. Anything over 4% is considered high. So that's for the last 2 years. So congrats. Good to see that you're pushing that out and keeping your employees informed about that. And that's a cost that's already included and built in. So no additional cost to help those employees out. Benchmark Analytics for helping the sheriff's office on mitigating risks, workplace injury hotline for triaging and reporting work comp claims, Minnesota Safety Council, which is a plethora of information on the safety front, specialized in it. HSB boiler and pressure vessel inspections is included. HSB is Hartford Steam Boiler. They handle the reinsurance and the claims for equipment breakdown, and they also do these inspections as an included cost. Resource rich website. I will ask that if you haven't played around on the MCIT website to see some of the resource material that we've developed, I encourage you to do so and encourage employees to use it too. There's at all levels a lot of information that can be used there when it comes to contracts or open meeting law or how to handle a scenario with a lot of volunteers. And I'm just scratching the surface here. There's a lot of information available. I encourage you to look at that and take advantage of that. Other relevant training, seminars and webinars that we put on or advise you on for associated members that are putting on webinars through our bulletin, speakers for on-site training, the Peace Officer accredited training online patrol, 36 enrolled, solid number for the county. So nice work there for the sheriff's office. And defensive driving training through the Minnesota Safety Council. This again is just some of the things that are the value add for MCIT and what we do for our members. That concludes what I have to say today. And again, I apologize if I'm moving a little quickly with respect to time, but open any questions you might have.
Anybody got any questions?
Seems like we're on the
Thank you.
right trend.
Yeah, definitely. Some of those numbers are looking positive with, especially with the work comp and trending in, or the moderate trending in the right direction. So that's good to see.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for what you do and coming up.
Thank you. I appreciate your time. Thank you. Yeah. Have a good day.
All right. We'll move on to 5.1, the letter of support for Highway 23. Looks like consider a letter of support for MnDOT in support for a feasibility of study for trunk Highway 23 from Foley to I-35. Providing a letter of support would not require any financial or lead responsibility commitment to MnDOT, or MnDOT would take the lead on the study. Authorized chair to sign letter of support. So we just need a motion or yeah.
I'll move that.
Okay. There's a little handout you got here if you want to look at it. Colin made a motion. Do we got a second?
Yeah. Right there. Oh, there it is. Yeah, okay. I knew I saw it, so. Great.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I don't know, if you travel that route, it is kind of hairy. I know Brook Park, we've had a lot of fatal crashes in that area. You know, and
Bad spot.
it takes a while, they're moving, I know from Foley south, I think it goes quite a ways down to Wilmer even, it's really a nice route now.
Yeah.
And of course, the truck traffic through there is pretty significant, I think.
Yeah, my comment would be echoing that as I looked at that map, that's what I was looking for, because I saw that earlier and looked at those fatals, and where they're concentrated. And we have an unusually high concentration in Pine County.
Right.
And I've got some personal friends that have,
Yeah.
suffered fatals because of, and it wasn't their fault. They were a victim of something else happening on that. Now, I'm not thinking that a 4-lane road is gonna solve all those problems, but I'm not opposed to that, that's for certain.
Mhm.
I don't know how they're gonna pay for it, but,
I don't,
but
that's MnDOT's kind of thing, but I think they have to start someplace. And I think if you drive 23 to the southwest of the state, and you'll see all the improvements from basically Foley to Pipestone. They started this process 25 years ago. And they really, really worked on it. And we're hounding legislators and hounding MnDOT, and we weren't. And so I think.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah,
Mark, that's kind of turning into a main link for trucking, isn't it, too?
Yeah, well, definitely. I mean, unless you go south and run across 90 or 169, and I think too, looking at the corridor as a whole, realistically,
Yeah.
is it gonna be 4 lanes? Probably not, but I think maybe as they look at it, they can identify areas of crashes. And how can they improve those intersections and make some changes on access and like they've done in other areas of the state, cause those are a lot less costly and in the end, it might get you the results without having to expand to 4 lanes.
if they could,
You gonna second it?
well, I was gonna say, if they could figure out how to get through St. Cloud without it being a
Yeah.
bottleneck, then the traffic would really increase. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty bad there.
so we do have a motion. Do we have a second yet or not?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Waldham. Is there any other discussion? No other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same thing. Okay, commissioner updates, AMC District 1 meeting.
Steve and I were there along with our administrator. I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So the long and the short of that is that, it came on the heels of the special session, one of the last AMC meetings, after the session, the special session. And so the news out of that special session was not as bad as we were expecting or preparing for, which was really good news to hear. However, that good news lasted only about a week and a half, until they talked about what's going to happen potentially at the federal level. And we've not really talked about that a lot because their budget doesn't get really finalized until October. But it appears that there are going to be some significant shifts that affect certain states more than others, and particularly Minnesota, with the SNAP cost shift. And I want to differentiate, there's 2 different components. There's the actual benefits that go to recipients. And although there's some tinkering with that, that's not necessarily the issue. The big issue is the administration of that program. And in Minnesota, which is just a handful of counties that administer all those things at the county level. And so that cost shift was 75-25 as far as administering it, and they're looking at a 50-50 shift. So that burden of administration of those benefits, and of course, that's gonna fall heavily on those counties that have a lot of participation. You know, it takes time and money to administer those sort of programs, and our Health and Human Services are ones that administer that. So I don't know that they've really counted up the cost, except that it could be significant. If you read some of the things that came out over the weekend with AMC, and they're talking about some specific counties, they're talking about possibly having to levy 7% just to cover this, an additional 7% increase just to cover the, and I'm not sure, we're not talking about Metro, we're talking about, you know, some rural counties that are similar to us. So that was the big dampener that seemed to come over, you know, in our whole budgeting process that we're just about to start. So maybe Steve, you got some good news.
I know, I'll just leave it at we didn't get whacked as hard as we thought we were gonna from the state. The big unknown is like Roger said, the requirement, not just the cost shift, but as they add requirements, it's gonna take more people possibly to do that administrative work than it did before. So I'm worried about that. Anyway, it was good to see our colleagues, and everybody's in the same boat, scratching their head, wondering how we're gonna get through this budget process.
And you got a new chair and vice chair there, right?
Yeah, a new chair is
New
from Aiken
chair.
County.
For making, yep.
Sounds good.
Vice chair continues, Susan, same.
Oh, yeah, that's
She was
right.
Just
Okay.
acting temporary chair.
Okay. And then the next meetings, the fall one for them is in, you said St. Louis County?
There's a fall meeting, and it's MEA weekend, whenever that is in October, and it's in St. Louis County. We don't know where yet. They've figured that out. And there, prior to that, though, in September, there is the AMC Policy Committee meeting statewide, and that is in Alexandria.
Okay.
And that is like mid-September,
Yeah.
so
That's a good one to go to.
Yeah, that's where all the policy gets drawn up,
Yep.
and drummed up.
Yep.
So, I've never,
That-
maybe I went once, I've never been to that, I don't know. So it is a good one though, I know.
Yeah.
All right, Highway 23 Coalition. I don't know if either one of you guys made it.
No, I didn't make it.
Snake River Watershed, yeah, I was there. A couple of things is it's work season. A couple projects in actually Pine County. I think a couple of the commissioners they asked the question, why is so much going on in Pine County? Well, it just goes to show that we have a very active soil and water, and we're working hard over here. So there was a lot of stuff going on over here. So I will just say I applaud them guys and we have active landowners that want to get stuff done. They're a big retired dairy farm that is closing a manure pit, and then another one which I think Steve knows really well, that is doing a bunch of stuff over here that is a lot of good water quality stuff that'll help the water quality on the Snake River. And then couple other things that were going on is Pokegama Lake was there talking about their nano bubbles. They're going hard. And they got their nano bubble media day coming up. There was a gal there, they went from Mora they canoed, I'm trying to find it. They canoed the Snake River from Mora to the St. Croix. And she talked about like when the glaciers and it formed and like the tunnels and deposited all the sandstone and all that kind of stuff. And it was very, very interesting. And I actually asked her to come and present to, because she did a lot about Pine County. And she is going to come to our board meeting and kind of give the presentation here. She'll restructure it a little bit to all of Pine County, but it'll be in the next month or two, or maybe even a little longer. But she's with the state of Minnesota or the U of M. So we'll see that. But it was a lot of, I figure, Matt, you're really into all that stuff. So you'd be curious about it. But so I thought that was very interesting. So stay tuned to that. And that was about it. Got to be a long meeting. East Central Regional Development. Looks like JJ.
Yeah, that was on the 23rd, the annual meeting. The only thing I can report on that is the Pine municipality position is open. It was open since the election in November. And they are going to work through following the bylaws to fill that position properly again. That's all I got on that.
Okay. NLX.
A meeting was canceled.
Okay.
Although I will say, I think part of the reason it was canceled was they were disappointed that the state rated their funding to balance the budget.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys know that, but and that was what happened, right? I mean, they were defunded. Is that why they? Because
Well, it's not completely defunded, but it's a part of it is it transferred to be someday replenished.
okay, because they've canceled
whatever that
a few
means.
of them, haven't they?
Yeah, they didn't raid the whole amount, but a significant piece of it.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Housing Redevelopment Authority and Economic Development Authority.
Yeah, I can take that. The buildings are doing fine, all three that they're managing. The most reportable thing is Leslie gave an update on that, child care grant that, and so Hinckley Finlayson and Corey Kids are gonna get the remaining grant dollars there. And there's gonna, 3 classrooms in Hinckley are gonna be, like you were mentioning, Roger, that they were available. They're gonna be created into a childcare, and then they're gonna add some slots at Corey Kids and stuff. So that's probably the most important thing for what we were working on as a county for the childcare slots.
Okay. Zoning Board?
No meeting.
No meeting. All right. Any other meetings anybody want to? Go ahead.
I just wanted to, I know we had it in our minutes, but the Rural Small Business Economic Development Forum that we had last week. I
That
know
needs to be, yes.
only the 5 of us are in this room that were there.
Yep.
And the public didn't really, because it wasn't televised or anything, but I just had, if I could take a minute.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
had 4 takeaways that came out of that meeting that I wanted to highlight. And first one was that we were reminded that agriculture is a significant part of our county economy. And we certainly know that historically it is now, but we're also reminded that it will be into the future, and it may not look the same, but we need to be cognizant of that and not lose sight of that. Number 2, federal and state regulations can stymie local businesses. We had a few examples of that, and maybe the takeaway there was maybe we can't do a lot about that, but let's not let some of our local decision making as well stymie some of our small businesses to be cognizant of that. Number three, financial resources are always a challenge, even small amount of resources and how to get that funding. We did have some people that came and spoke to maybe there are alternatives, but they're not widely known. And so maybe, you know, how to connect people to those resources, or even, you know, that they're recognizing that that is a challenge that they are all facing. Number four, the last one, many small businesses are involved heavily in the community. And we need to recognize that, we need to encourage that, and we need to see that the value that these you can't put a dollar figure on their interaction in the community and what that actually does on a macro level for us, as we saw examples of how these small businesses are involved in ways that we aren't always aware of, and it's really a critical and important part. So those were some of the things that came out of that meeting. I think that just a summary, and so it was yeah, good.
That was very good.
That was a great summary. I thought it was a great meeting, so I can add,
Yep.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
And then he has 11 employees right now, but he goes as high as 15 to
Yep.
16, which, you know, that's putting a lot of people to work. And then he rents so much land from landowners, which, you know, helps the landowner too. So there's a lot of, and then the thing that I was amazed at was the Fitbit on his milk cows. That's how close they monitor the animals. And I thought that, I mean, they really monitor their health and production. But anyway, small comments from me, but.
Well,
I could add too. if I
yep,
can.
go ahead.
20 to 36% tax on a gallon of milk is what he had stated.
Yeah.
It costs $24,000 for a lactating cow from start to finish. That was very interesting, the kind of money per cow that they are. And one of his biggest challenges, he said, was with legislature in the state was working through the new paid time off laws.
Yeah.
You know, trying to manage, you know, farms 24/7, 365. I think anybody that's farmed knows that. So that was one other comment that he had made.
I would just like to say thank you, Commissioner Nelson,
Yeah.
for arranging this and taking the lead on that and working through it, because we haven't done this in quite a while. And I would challenge all of us to work on this, doing something similar to this in our district and taking kind of a lead. I know we had talked about it at the beginning of the year, to try to get a meeting in our district, and try to take something and go with it. And Commissioner Nelson did it and kind of probably set the bar high, I would say. So
The month or so before, we had the one at the hospital as well.
okay, yeah, I think I was out of,
And then we did
Yep.
Nemadji
That
not
was-
so long ago too, Nemadji Resources.
yeah.
We could do that. That's a good business.
Yep. Yep. So I would say coordinate with David, and we'll try to, because it is nice getting out of these two buildings and just working on some other stuff. So, but yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
Another one just to think about is like, I know we've had a meeting out at the park before,
Mhm,
but even like Osprey Wilds,
mhm.
there's always stuff happening there and they're changing things.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, so like I said, just kind of coordinate with Dave, and if you got an idea, and we can figure it out, so. Otherwise, is there anything other?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Just a note on the meeting, there's a transportation committee meeting on Monday, the 7th,
Yep.
1 o'clock here.
Mhm.
I think you can go online if you need to,
Okay,
right, Ryan?
Yep.
Which meeting?
Be a transportation committee meeting.
Yeah, I think the new law starts today,
They're
actually.
Out already.
Okay.
You're aware. I have one other, if I can.
okay, go ahead.
Today it was could be going on right now, the Public Utility Commission meeting. And on their agenda is Iron Pine Solar. It appears they have it designated as there isn't any agenda item being disputed. What's going on today is there's 4 points here is, should the commission adopt the administrative law judge's findings of fact, conclusions of law, and recommendation? 2, should the commission find that the environmental assessment and the record created at the public hearings adequately address the issues identified in the scoping decision? 3, should the commission issue a site permit for the 325 megawatt Iron Pine solar energy generating system? And that location is just south of Willow River at the sod farm location adjacent to I-35. 4, should the commission issue the route permit for the 230 kV transmission line? And that's going on right now.
Did they
Thanks.
grant their review?
It's going on right now. As we're here, they started theirs at 10 a.m. also down at St. Paul. So
Yeah, I think the environmental review was done already though, wasn't it?
All right.
All right, well, if there's